It's the hard part, Brian. I'm not going to sit here and tell lies. It's the hard part. We as a group have been underperforming. There's been moments in games where I think we've played really, really well, but we're losing games of football. So that's the difficult part. If I could sit here and go, Brian, I need to do that, I wouldn't be in this position. Teams that get relegated, if there was a recipe to get you out of this, you would get out of it. Football, there's that many uncontrollables. There's a lot of variables within a match that has a determination on the outcome. So it's not that easy, unfortunately. It's been a really challenging season, really difficult season, painful season. And all I can do, all my staff and all the players can do is go out and try and win the next game of football. That's all we can do. We've had that conversation as a group on multiple occasions. The players have had that conversation as a group on multiple occasions. So everybody in this club cares. Everybody, players, staff, everybody cares. We've all done everything we can. We're not out of it yet. I understand how difficult it is. I understand how big that hole is we are in. But all those different things that you're talking about, we've done them. But actions speak louder than words. Action speaks louder than words. And I can't sit here and point the finger at the players. I can't sit here and point the fingers at the staff. I've got to take the responsibility for that. Yeah, I mean, when I said that to you, I thought I'd been in a relegation battle, but I didn't think I'd be sitting bottom of the league on the points that we're on. So, did I think it was going to be as tough as what it is? No, I didn't. I'll be really, really honest with you. Did I know it was going to be tough? I did, and I said that at the start of the season. That wasn't even me looking a way out. We're a club, probably the first 3 years in the Premier League, you're kind of got that upward momentum. Mm-hmm. You're back in the Premier League, you're winning games, you're staying in the league, you're chasing top six, you go to a cup final. And then you keep losing your best players. Difficult, but it happens at Motherwell, happens at St Johnstone, happens at St Mirren. So we're all like for like there. At teams at our level, it's kind of natural, that's what happens. But we were probably the feeder club to some of these clubs. We were losing players to Motherwell, we were losing players to St Mirren, we were losing players to the clubs just above us. So that becomes difficult at that point. You can only go back to the well so many times and keep changing it. But again, there's been a serious lack of investment in the football club over the last 3 years. And I'm not getting into court battles and cases, right? There's been a serious lack of investment. The club's been hemorrhaging money on litigation costs, but that money's come out of the budget, Brian, and seeing football people, I'm not on social media now, but I'm not adverse to what goes on in social media. He's talking about budgets. I'm generally sitting here, if I was top of the league, top six, bottom of the league, my narrative wouldn't change. Budgets in football play a huge part in football. And there's been a serious lack of investment in the football club over the last 3 years because that money's had to have been spent elsewhere to try and keep the club in a good position off the field rather than on the field, and that's had an effect, a detrimental effect on the first team. But I'm not want to sit here and absolve myself of any blame either. I'm not, like, budgets play a part, but I think I've got to shoulder most of that responsibility. But that's the harsh reality, that's the honest truth, and I spoke about it in August with you. It's been difficult, it's been challenging. My budget wouldn't have been cut by the extremes that it did get cut by, but also there would be serious investment in the football club. Look what's happening in Scottish football, right? Just look through it, and I've been very vocal on this, right? Look what's happening. I think there's a couple of teams in the Champ that, and maybe a couple in League One that are, I'll use the term feeder clubs. Out with the old firm, I think every other club in Scotland's looking at some form of serious investment into their football club. Hibs are probably the first one to bite that bullet in that terms. We're all involved in Scottish football, we all hear the rumours, we all know them. I'm not going into, this is the first official one. You look at the tie-in Dundee have got with Burnley, Hibs are now with Bournemouth. There's a couple in the Champ that I know of, there's a couple in League One that I know of, there's probably a couple more in the Premier League that's potentially going to happen. For me, that is the way forward in football, but all that is really doing is looking at other areas to bring investment into your football club. So without the court cases, we'd have had serious investment in the football club. Yeah,
individuals.
Yeah. Sat in Zoom calls with the chairman, there's been serious people want to invest in the football club. serious people wanted to invest in the football club, but because of the, how do I explain that? Because of the off-field troubles, it's never going to happen until this football club gets cleaned up in terms of its ownership and its debt on the books. It's never going to happen, because as soon as anyone that's serious does their due diligence, they probably look elsewhere. Yeah, potentially, yeah, it's definitely a valid argument there, but I do probably caveat that with there's clubs in the Champ, and I know a couple in League One that are in very similar situations to ourselves. They're looking at maybe clubs for the English Premier League, clubs for the English Champ, using them as feeder clubs. And I think that's the way football's going. It's a multi-club ownership. I think that is the way forward. I really do believe that. Again, you've got the separate models with fan ownership, fans putting in, well, I think Falkirk's a great example of that out with the Hearts. Hearts are incredible, what the fans do for Hearts, it's incredible. Okay. But I think the fans are playing a huge part in that also. So if we never had our off-field troubles, and I knew this at the start of the season, so it's not like I'm sitting here moaning about it, because I knew the circumstances coming into this season. Hence why, probably in my opinion, at the start of the season, telling you it's going to be difficult. But I knew it was going to be a difficult season because of the off-field troubles and the lack of investment into the football club. I think, for what I believe, there's been a couple of I know there's been a couple of court cases. It's the club can claim small victories from them. Not even small victories, large victories, if I'm honest, but it seems to be, I think there's another couple of court cases coming up. To be fair, I think the two Johns, but probably more so John and Dave, have kind of kept a lot of it away from me of late because of the serious situation we find ourselves in the footballing front, whereas probably a wee bit more up to date in what the goings on off the field. But probably come October, November, I think that's been kept away from me. If I want an update, I just need to pick the phone up. But see, to be honest, Brian, my sole focus has just been the footballing side of the football club, opposed to what's going on away from the football pitch. Does that make sense? So I believe there's another couple of cases still to come. Hopefully the club can get these tied up and move on, and then be in a position where it's got clean ownership. It's still going to have debt on the books, but it'll be legitimate debt from the Scottish Government, and we're then looking at investment into the football club to try and take the club back to wherever we need to be. But I do believe when you're not moving forward in football, you're moving backwards, because there will be other clubs moving forward. So if you're not progressing, you're going back away, you're losing ground, and that's what I felt's probably happened the last 2-3 years. We've not been able to progress as a club on and off the field, and it's you've had other clubs in and around us progressing, and that's really where it's been. I think it's going to be difficult, right? We went there and we gave it a right good go at Parkhead. Still came away 4-2 down, but there was positives to take from that game. I think Brendan's a very astute manager. I think he's a top manager with top players. They'll come here, they'll know they're going to be in a game, so it's going to be a difficult game of football. But I'm trying to think who was out after the international break. Joel's been struggling. He took a bad one in the Hibs game, turned his ankle off the ball. Like, he had the ball, it wasn't really coming from a knock, if you know what I mean. So Joel's been struggling a wee bit, but he's going to train a wee bit today and train a wee bit on Saturday. Mick's okay. Mick played probably 20-30 minutes more than I would have liked Mick to play. Mick got 45, but Mick's trained all week, been brilliant. Trained last week, been brilliant. So Mick's in a good place. Wee Pittman came back into training, which is a huge boost for us as a group. So Wee Pitts came back in and looked like he'd never been injured. It's just Pitts is one, his engine is phenomenal engine in him, and he looked as though he'd never been away for the group, and he'd missed a good bit of training, a good bit of games. So Wee Pitts comes back in. Hopefully James is maybe in contention for the Aberdeen squad. If not, I would expect I'm putting him and the physio under pressure here, but he better be back after that. So we're not in a bad place, but the story of the season's probably been 1 in, 1 out, 2 in, 2 out. It's kind of been a revolving door, but I can't sit here and use that as excuses either, because I think every club's in the same boat, in all honesty. Jack played 90 minutes in the reserve game on Tuesday. So we've been cautious with Jack, but Jack played 90 minutes in the reserve game. He sat on the bench at Easter Road. That was probably more of a bench filler in the warm-up, so he was getting a wee bit of handling work, a wee bit of feet work in the warm-up for that game. If Sham had went down injured, Michael would have went on, but now I think Jack's now in a good place where we can get a couple of games into Jack in the reserves and he's in a good place himself.